This week on Choice Hacking. Aldi is a discount grocer with a cult following, and it's now the fastest growing grocery store in the U.S. They have more than 2,200 locations, and they're growing by 100 stores a year, nudging ever closer to rivals like Walmart, Costco, and Kroger. Unsurprisingly, a lot of that success is down to how Aldi applies psychology and behavioral science throughout its customer experience. They're masters at balancing low price with a deep understanding of their customers' mindsets, needs, and mental models to create a store that makes everything feel like a good value, but never like a sacrifice. I'm Jennifer CLINEHENS, and you're listening to Choice Hacking, a podcast about applying behavioral science and psychology to business, marketing, experience design, and more. Join me today as we unpack the psychology behind the massive growth of Aldi and how you can apply some of their strategies to grow your own business. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this podcast, Choice Hacking, the agency. Did you know that Choice Hacking isn't just a podcast? We also offer online courses, team training, and consulting. But because we're a small team and we want to keep giving our clients the personal attention they deserve, we only take on 10 clients a year. That's right, just 10. And as I sit here recording this podcast in January of 2024, we've already booked in 6. So if you want to solve your toughest marketing and experience challenges, get in touch today. Just visit choicehacking.com/together to learn more. That's choicehacking.com/together. Now, on to the show. The Aldi store experience could best be described as minimalistic. There aren't any fancy displays with the latest deals. There's almost no in-store marketing. There's limited product selection, almost no well-known brands. And if they run out of something, it's just gone. A lot of brands wouldn't survive such a quirky store experience. But Aldi's just seems to make customers love it more. There are some good business and psychology reasons for this approach. A simple store experience isn't just cheaper and easier for Aldi to maintain with fewer workers. It also means customers are dealing with a lighter cognitive load. Cognitive load describes how much information we're trying to take in, process, or remember at any given time. When our brains are overtaxed, we tend to feel stressed and make less than optimal choices, like impulse buying a pizza after a long, stressful day at work. But when you make decisions with less information overwhelming you, like you do at Aldi, shopping feels easier, faster, and less stressful. And that's particularly important for Aldi's core customers. Many are low income and are already dealing with a stressed and overtaxed brain because of the everyday financial trade-offs that they're constantly forced to make just to survive. For a grocery store with such a tiny store size, Aldi outsells almost all other grocery stores per square foot. In fact, it makes $662 of revenue per square foot. That's more than Walmart and Dollar General combined. The stores are small because Aldi carries fewer products. According to the Food Industry Association, Aldi in the U.S. only has 1,650 SKUs, compared to the more than 30,000 items in a typical American grocery store. For example, Walmart has almost 300 salad dressing options. An Aldi store in the US, however, will have fewer than 20, and Aldi in Europe carries only about 4. You might be surprised to learn that limiting the number of products in their stores actually increases Aldi's sales. It's down to a behavioral science principle known as choice overload. Choice overload describes the human tendency to become mentally overloaded if we see too many options at the point of decision. Studies have found that too many options can actually cause anxiety, disappointment, and even depression. If there's too many choices, we feel like we've never made the right one. When there are fewer options, it's easier and faster to pick one, and we feel better about the choice that we finally make. Unlike most other grocery stores, Aldi's are completely controlled by them. They don't let these big CPG companies like Nestle, Kraft Heinz, or Mondelez crowd their stores with marketing or sales promotions. That's because Aldi sells almost exclusively store brands. Although these are distributed under the Aldi name, most are manufactured by the same well-known brands that Aldi appears to be ripping off. And the names of the brands in Aldi will give you a clue. General Mills becomes Millville. Olive Garden Italian dressing becomes Tuscan Garden. And DiGiorno Pizza is now Mama Cozzi's. Stocking its own products allows Aldi to better control costs in manufacturing and marketing, as well as giving a little wink and a nudge to customers who, in 2024, have figured out that most generic brands are made in the same factories as the more well-known brands. On top of that, Aldi doesn't do reward cards, loyalty programs, or offer coupons. Not only does this make Aldi a simpler experience for customers, but it also helps trim Aldi's marketing and staffing costs. Customers never feel like they're playing a savings game with the store, clogging up Aldi's tiny aisles while they try to figure out how to save an extra $1 on dish soap. It also makes customers feel like they're getting the best price that Aldi can possibly offer on a product, building long-term trust in the brand. Aldi's use of psychological pricing is actually pretty genius. It uses products like milk as what are called loss leaders in its stores. That means Aldi doesn't make any money on milk, but instead loses money in exchange for driving customers into the store. They know that almost everyone needs milk, and if they make theirs the cheapest in town, they can get more people to shop in Aldi. This strategy also uses a combination of two psychology principles, anchoring and scarcity. Aldi puts a sticker on its milk case that says, "Limit 6, please." Signs like these get people thinking about scarcity. Scarcity describes our attraction to things that are in limited supply. Basically, we want something more the harder it is to get. So when people see a sign that says limit 6, they think, why is it limited? I only need 1 gallon of milk, but I wonder if that means Aldi's running low. I better get 2 just in case. This sign also anchors customers to the number 6. Anchoring describes how the presence of a number can change how we view subsequent numbers, because we're comparing that information to what we just saw. So, for example, if you were trying to sell a house for $400,000 and someone offers you $250,000, well, you'd probably say no. But you might eventually accept a $350,000 offer. Because in comparison to $250,000, $350,000 sounds like a lot, even if you really wanted $400,000 for the house. In the Aldi example, most people wouldn't know what to do with 6 gallons of milk, but anchoring bias means that the presence of the number 6 could get them to consider buying more than 1 gallon of milk. When customers try a new store or new product, they take a risk. And people really hate to take risks because it means we might lose. Aldi's twice as nice guarantee helps eliminate that feeling of risk by offering to both replace an item and refund the customer's money if a product is unsatisfactory. Why do money-back guarantees work? Well, it's down to a psychological principle called zero risk bias. It describes our tendency to prefer options where risk has been eliminated. People just hate to lose. In fact, the psychological pain of losing is more than 2 times the pleasure of gaining the same thing. So if you lost a $20 bill, you might feel anxiety and anger at an 8 on a scale of 10. But if you found $20, you'll only feel happiness at about a 4 on a scale of 10. Zero risk bias is all about avoiding as much risk as we can. For example, in one study, researchers asked people which option they'd rather choose: lowering the risk from 5% to 0%, or lowering the risk from 50% to 25%. People overwhelmingly chose the first option, even though the change from 50% down to 25% is a greater overall reduction in risk than 5% down to 0%. People just prefer options when it feels like we can't lose. Thank you for listening to the Choice Hacking Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review it. It takes 20+ hours to create every episode, and it helps the podcast find new listeners when it has more ratings and reviews. And don't forget, you can learn more about behavioral science and psychology applied to business when you subscribe to the free Choice Hacking newsletter. You'll join more than 8,000 brilliant entrepreneurs and marketing folks from companies like McDonald's and Starbucks who get my newsletter. To sign up, just visit choicehackingIdeas.com. That's choicehackingIdeas.com. Until next time.
I hit record a drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets.